This one I know exactly what I'm talking about. For the last 18 months, Latika Roy Foundation, as we used to be called, has been building a building. And architecture is on my mind. I live and breathe and dream of architecture. And what I love about it is that there's no faffing about, there are no abstractions. We're not talking about awareness raising. It's all concrete, bricks, cement, granite, door frames. And my mind in the process has gone in many new directions. I go down to the site a few times every week, sometimes more, and I just prowl around like a cat. I love being in that place. I like to put my hands out and actually feel the brick walls, imagine children running down the corridors, filling the classrooms, and what that's all going to be like. It's just something about being there. And partly, I think it's because architecture is so new to me. I've never done this before. And partly because I can't figure out what is on the paper and what is the reality. And so I'm always having this interesting gulf, which I think we've all experienced between theory and practice. In buildings, you have gaps like that, and it's really expensive. You think you want a room the way you want it, and then the number of walls that we have had to have demolished because of my inability to translate from paper to reality. I don't want to think about it. But what does this have to do with inclusive education? And why is this the topic of my whole presentation? Well, we all know as teachers that it's not the mind alone that we're trying to inspire when we run a class. We're moving beyond just the acquisition of skills or the transfer of information. We're also expecting children to learn physically, emotionally, and we know that it all happens in time and in space. We have a donor who's the head of a big real estate company, and he often says, and we often quote him, that spaces drive behavior. And I think we have all experienced this ourselves. Now look at this room that we're in, and the room that we were in when the walls weren't dividing us, and how the sound is coming through. There's all kinds of stuff that will influence how much attention we can pay because of the environment that we're in. If we can make our spaces work for absolutely everybody who comes into them, everything will change. I want to introduce you to India's National Building Code. I am a big, big fan of this code. It is a remarkable document. It's been created by so many different kinds of professionals, engineers, architects, designers, policymakers, disabled people, family members, and it covers literally everything. It covers doors, it covers stairs, corridors, windows, where grab bars need to be placed, where railings have to be, the height of a sink, the shape of a tap. I mean, it's so minutely detailed. And there is a code for signage, for color choices. Do you need to do something? Okay, thank you. And in the process of detailing all those things out, we've got a revolution on our hands. Now, I know as well as you know that the code is ignored most of the time. I'm not going to go into that because that is an old story, and all of us are here because we believe in the promise of inclusion, because we know that there is a better world out there. So let's not bore ourselves with the inspectors who get paid off and turn a blind eye to all the violations. Follow the code as it is written, and this entire country will be transformed. And why? Because laws talk to each other. You can't have just the building code as a standalone. Embedded within the building code, there are references to child protection laws, the right to education, fire safety, workers' rights, environmental standards, community participation, waste management. It's all there in this code. And one code cannot stand without all of the other references. And the result, without ever having to spell it out in the building code, is that this building is going to work for everyone. You don't need to talk about disabled people as a separate category who need special provisions. You don't need to talk about the elderly or the pregnant or the child or the teenager. It's going to work for all of us if we just follow those rules. Now, yes, it's a little bit expensive, but that's what it costs. That is how it works. Not doing it is illegal, and it's really stupid. Because the cost of safety, the cost of justice, the cost of quality, that's what it is. And if we don't follow the code because we're trying to cut costs, we are just kicking ourselves. No donor, if you're raising money for a building, is ever going to ask you to break the law. I guarantee you. And what we have found in our own experience, we've raised 20 crores, 20.5 crores for this building so far. Donors respect us the more when we tell them that we are not going to compromise, that we are doing everything scrupulously according to the code. So don't ever be shy about this. Just say, yes, that's what it costs, because that's what we need. And all of us are experts at convincing people of what? The importance of early intervention. You invest the money at the beginning and you will reap the benefits for the rest of the building's life, for the rest of the child's life. We all know that argument. If we want safe workplaces, who do we start with? We start with the people who build the building. Acquired disability is a major problem for the entire world. 300 million people have acquired disability. They weren't born with it. Most of those acquired disabilities are caused by accidents. And in India, many of those accidents are workplace accidents because we don't follow our own laws, we don't follow our own codes. And what an irony to build a building for disabled kids and adults and create disabled people in the process. I mean, how stupid would that be? But I have to say that following the code isn't always easy because many of our workers don't care enough about their own safety to insist that they have the required gear, or that they take the time to do what needs to be done, that they wear their hard hats. It's super hot on the building site and hats are really uncomfortable. I understand that, but why don't they think their lives are valuable? Have we not educated our children when they're very small to think that their lives are valuable, to think that they are important, that their safety matters? And I think this is something really worth thinking about when we talk about an inclusive school. Are we maintaining our children's safety at all times? I think we all care a lot about their safety when they're with us. But what about when they come and go to school? Do we make sure that the buses that they come into school in have seatbelts for every child and that they are wearing them? Do we make sure if a parent is bringing a kid in on a bike that the parent is wearing a helmet and the child is wearing a helmet? These are things that schools can enforce because we just say that's how you have to come. If you don't have a helmet, kid can't come, just like we do for vaccinations. Do we have regular safety drills? Do the kids know how to get out of a building in a hurry? And do we have a building that is also safe? So all of these things are how children grow up with a sense of their importance, with a sense of their value, and value to themselves, value to their families, and value to the country. That's inclusion. And then when we go into our classrooms, how are we designing them? If we have a classroom that's designed for 25 kids and we cram 50 into it because that's going to save us money, that's going to get scale that our donors all talk about, how are they going to learn? I mean, how would you be able to learn if you were in a room where you could barely move your arms, where you had to sit like this, and maybe you have claustrophobia, maybe this room feels like you're being suffocated, there's no window, there's no light coming in. The best pedagogy in the world is a waste if children can't access it. If the teacher may be brilliant, but if they are so uncomfortable because of the environment we've put them in, if the seating doesn't work for them, if their friends are getting in their way and taking up their space, they're not going to be able to learn. The inclusive environment is required for children to learn in our classrooms. And when we take them outside to those classrooms, the outdoor spaces that so much learning happens in, are they able to access the equipment that we have provided? Can every child get on the merry-go-round? play in the sandpit. And if that's not happening, then how are they actually getting that inclusive education that we talk about? And when we do all of this creative stuff, new grooves form in our brain, and we become more flexible ourselves. There will be a child, for sure, who doesn't like any of the play equipment, who doesn't want to participate in all the inclusive games that we have come up with. I was one of those kids. I didn't like teams on the perimeter of the playground with my one best friend and chat. That was just me, and I'm fine now. I didn't have any social problems. I think that when we learn to accept the differences that children have and really and truly accept them and not call them, socially incompetent or deviants or whatever terms we come up with, that's when we really can provide an inclusive education. Because we're all different, and we know that about ourselves, and we cater to ourselves and our own needs and wants. Why can't we do that for our children? And yet, we're all the same. Everybody in this room needs to go to the bathroom at regular intervals. And I've yet to meet anybody who doesn't want a clean, comfortable bathroom that works for them. We are so proud of the fact that we are going to have in our building 32 toilets. All of them are accessible. On every floor, there are 3 wheelchair accessible toilets, which are huge, so that a person in a wheelchair can use the toilet from either side. They can get in either way, depending on where they have more strength. We have Indian toilets, Western toilets, gender-specific, gender-neutral toilets. Because everybody has preferences, everybody has needs, everybody will be comfortable in a particular kind of setup. Some of us are scared we might fall in. So we are also going to have these little tiny baby toilets for our little tiny kids so that they feel safe. And best of all, from my perspective, we are going to have not 1, but 2 changing place toilets. Changing place toilets are very hard to find. And the person who taught me how important they were was Moi Moi, who until she left us at 28 was using diapers. Changing place toilets were designed for Moi Moi. They are places where a person using diapers who is an adult size, not one of those babies who can lie on that little cot that they stick in airports, an adult can be changed in dignity and comfort and privacy. The number of times we had to lay newspapers on the floor and lie Moi Moi down was, I just hate to think about it. The indignity, the discomfort that she had to go through because we didn't have buildings that were accessible. And when we embody that respect for every single human being into our building, into the walls, we're communicating without using words, and we are educating without having to give any sermons. Everybody knows why you're doing that. Our Family Resource Center is the very first thing that you see when you walk into the building. And parents will come for all kinds of reasons. They want a diagnosis, they want a therapy plan, they want to know how their kid is going to get a job, all these things they come for. And we have a lawyer, and we have a social worker, and we have a doctor, and we have therapists, and all these people. But the most important thing in our new building is going to be our library. Our library is embedded in our Family Resource Center. And it's because we want families to realize disability is just one part of your very interesting life. Everybody has the right to read. Everybody has the right to look at a map, to imagine a different world, to listen to music, to hear poetry, to read stories. And that's why we want it to be the very first thing that people see, that their life is not being constrained now that they have a child or they themselves have a disability. Their life is just beginning, and they are going to open and open and open. When I first heard about the building code's corridor specifications, I nodded piously and I said, yes, yes, wide corridors are very important because one wheelchair can go that way and one wheelchair can go this way, and elbows will not be bumped. And then I saw this photograph of a tour that we took a bunch of our moms on down at the building, and I saw, oh, wait a minute, we're all in the same corridor. We're just all together and we're talking. And I remembered how much fun corridors were when I was a kid. And we would barrel out of our classrooms where we were kind of kept under control by our teachers, and suddenly we would be able to talk to each other. That's where the jokes happen. That's where you tell each other stories about what happened in your class. I didn't do my homework. Can you show me what you've done? All of that social interaction, which is so much a part of an inclusive education. So having that space to walk with your friends is what's going to make a huge difference and contribution to an inclusive education. And speaking of walking, this is our ramp. This is our favorite part of the building. It is a huge piece of architecture all by itself. And the inside, if you could take that front wall off, this is how it would look. It's got a gentle slope of 1:20, not one of those ramps that's going up to the ATM that you would, like, who wants the money that badly that I would risk my life to get up it. It's open from the sides, so there's light, there's ventilation, you'll be protected from the elements, and it's 330 meters from ground to terrace. How do you think I walked all those miles last year? This is what it's all about. We will have plenty of space for all our staff, all our kids, all our parents to take these lovely long walks instead of going, well, we do have lifts in case people are in a hurry, but we're going to really encourage the use of the ramp. But as Rashmi, who's sitting right here, our fundraising director, can tell you, I can poke her in her sleep and she'll wake up and she'll say, it's going to cost 3 crores just for this ramp. And we're still waiting for that perfect donor. You can help me, Vakeel. Find a good donor for me. We need a great donor who understands why this ramp is so important and why it's going to be so beautiful and so audacious and in your face. Because we need a symbol like this that says, yes, every single person has not only the right to get up to the terrace, but the right to get up there in beauty and comfort and enjoy the process. But 3 crores is a lot of money, so what else can we think of that we can do with this ramp? Well, it creates an atrium. Look at that beautiful space that our ramp is just magically making for us. It is going to be where we have performances, where we have poetry slams, readings, musical events. We'll have a potter. We have a potter who's been working with us for 30 years. He'll be there with his station set up. We have a bamboo guy who teaches the kids how to make stuff. We'll invite our neighbors. We'll have benches. It's kind of the focal point of our center. And it brings together that inclusive dream that we all have. But it's still 3 crores, so what else can we do with it? So we work from 8 in the morning till 6 at night. What else? What else? Anybody have any ideas? Because we do. This is where we're building our building. What a horrible street. Can you imagine now, you young people, you can maybe walk on that. You people from Bombay, used to it, crazy traffic. I'm 66. I have stopped taking risks now. I have osteoporosis. If I have a fall, it's going to be catastrophic for my life. And that's just me at 66. There are so many people who have reasons why they will not want to take any chance walking. They may have a baby in their arms. They may have something on their minds that they can't focus on traffic right now. So we thought the one group that really, really struggles with walking is the elderly. Now that I'm one of them, I am really all about championing their rights to have a quiet, comfortable place to walk. So why not open our ramp to our elderly neighbors? So we're going to have a club for our elderly neighbors, high-rises everywhere in sight of our new campus. Invite them to come early in the morning, 6 to 7:30, and in the evening after we close. Now this is a very matlabi plan because we also want them to start volunteering. Once they start to come in and realize that, hey, these people are nice, we can talk to them, and maybe they'll volunteer to read stories to the kids in English, teach them some Hindi songs. We've got amazing elderly people living in Dehradun. They are all going to be part of our inclusive community. And one of the things, I don't know if you all have noticed, that there was nowhere to sit down except if you come into these rooms out there in the hall. Benches are one of the best things that exists. I love a good bench. And this corridor, look how long it is. We're going to have benches at intervals throughout the corridor. And we're going to have benches at every landing on the ramp so that anybody can get tired. You may be pregnant. How many of you have been pregnant? I used to get really tired when I was pregnant. You stop it. Elderly people definitely get tired. People who are carrying toddlers, they get tired. Everybody would love a bench. Sometimes you just want to quickly send a text message and not be irresponsibly walking down the corridor like this. You know, there are just so many reasons why you want to sit down, take a break, enjoy yourself. And look what happens with benches. I mean, this is where romances begin, arguments are sorted out, families feud, kids lie down. I mean, there's so much happening on benches. So we really want to have benches throughout our campus, not just on the ramp or in the corridors, but even at the front of the building. If the municipality agrees with us, freshmen haven't told you about this idea. We'll have a couple of benches so that people who are waiting for a Vikram, or Vikrams are what we call those shared taxis in Dehradun, or an auto, or an Uber, will have a place where they can sit peacefully, wait for it, the sun, the rain, they'll be safe from that. So this is basically what good design, what universal design, accessible architecture can do for us. It provides support, it provides protection, and it provides a clear view of what's ahead. I've worked in this field now for over 35 years, and what I've learned from Moi Moi and from my mother and my father and my mother-in-law, all of whom lived with us and were disabled at the end of their lives, is that disability is one of the most resourceful conditions you can be in. You have to figure things out. And that we see all the time. Our disabled friends, our disabled students, ourselves, if we are the ones who are disabled, we're always figuring out better ways to do things because we have to. And sorry to quote myself, but this is something I really believe in. You can only be included if you aren't already here. I know every one of us have got disabilities of various kinds. We're all different, we're all here. There is nobody in this world who isn't already here. And inclusion as a concept is on its way out. The more we do the kind of work that we are all doing, the less use we will have for that word. Because acceptance makes inclusion unnecessary. Thank you so much for your attention. Jai Hind.